Do these glasses look stupid? I feel like they look yellow. They're like, I don't know what they're called. It's like it blocks out the blue light, so when you do a lot of computer work, it kind of, keeps your eyes from getting strained. Anyways, what am I doing? What's going on, guys? It's Rylan with Rylan's Amazing Photography, and welcome to today's video where I'm telling you guys 5 things I wish I knew when I started photography. However, before we get into today's video, I want to remind you guys to go down below and like today's video. While you're down there, you might as well go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. I do landscape photography, wildlife photography, I do pretty much any outdoor photography. There's some other things I'm willing to try if you all want me to try them. I have different tutorials and stuff. Yeah, just feel free to check it out. Here's a fun video I like right here. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So I'm going to start this list off with photography is such an expensive hobby. Or, I mean, if you're doing it professionally, it's expensive too. It's expensive. If you want to be serious about it, you're going to spend a whole lot of money. I've been into photography, and I'm serious about it, obviously. I've been into it for about 1.5 years, and I've spent thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, I've spent thousands of dollars on lenses, cameras, just all lighting, all kinds of different gear. And it helps with the YouTube channel, and it helps with my actual picture taking abilities. Here's some of my pictures if you're wondering if gear matters. We're not here to discuss that issue today, though. I'm not even going to get into that. You can determine yourself if you think gear matters. I think gear does matter to a certain extent. I mean, obviously, you can't walk around with a smartphone and expect to capture an up-close image of a bear that's 4,000 feet away. So, to an extent, it does matter. But if you're wanting to get into photography, something that I wish I knew sooner was how expensive it was. I had no idea that a pro-grade mirrorless or DSLR camera could cost as much to $5,000. I mean, look at the Nikon D6 that's coming out. It's insane. First off, who wants to pay that much for a DSLR in this time frame? I'm not here to talk about gear. It's expensive. If you're starting photography, you need to know that it's expensive. Don't get sucked in like I did. I'm just kidding. Photography is great. But you spend a whole lot of money. How many times am I going to say that? Too many. Next topic. The next thing I wish I knew, number 2 on this list, is you can switch your camera to manual mode to have more control. And some of you all are probably sitting there rolling, oh my gosh, we know this. Well, some people don't know that. When I first started, I didn't know that. Something that I knew was I didn't want to use the camera's program mode. It has like a landscape mode, a portrait mode. I didn't want to use any of the program modes. I wanted to stick to P, which stands for programmed, but it's different than auto. I'm not really sure how it's different, but it is different. And then there's A, which stands for aperture priority, and then there's S, which stands for shutter priority, and then there's M, which is manual mode. When I first started, I did A and S the most, just depending on the situation. The shutter speed, when you click the S, you control your shutter speed and the camera controls your aperture. When you're on the A, it works vice versa. You control the aperture, your camera controls your shutter speed. That can be difficult when you're working with people and animals. You want to be in like S, but sometimes I wasn't getting as much background blur as I wanted to. And at the time, I didn't even know what M meant. So I got kind of more looking, and I realized that if I went to manual mode, I can control the shutter speed and the aperture on my camera at the same time, which is exactly what I needed. So if you're wanting to have full control of everything, with the exception of ISO, you can still use auto ISO in manual mode, but you can also use it manually. So if you want to have full control, just turn your mode dial to the M, and I mean, it's all up to you. Whatever comes out of that lens is what you do, and that's definitely what I prefer to do pretty much 98% of the time, with the exception of if I'm in some kind of hurry and I'm in tourist mode, I'll probably switch into programmed. Number 3, slow down on going pro. You're not going to wake up one morning and have $100,000 in your back pocket and be a famous and rich photographer. That's not how it worked. I wish that's how it worked. The deal is, it's going to take a long time, and I need to give myself this speech as much as I need to give you all this speech. I mean, you're not going to wake up and be rich and famous and have the best pictures. Here is one of the first images I ever took. Let's be honest. There's some of you all probably thinking, oh wow, Roland, that's not bad at all. Well, here's a most recent image I took. That's a pretty big difference. There's a lot of stuff to learn. When you first get into photography, don't be discouraged if you don't think that you're taking great pictures. Or you might think you're taking great pictures. When I first started, I thought that what I was doing was some of the best pictures I'd ever seen. And in all reality, they weren't that good at all. I mean, as you just seen on your screen. It takes a long time for improvement. Probably at least a year. I've been doing photography for about 1.5 years now, and that's the most recent image that you saw is what I'm taking. I mean, it's not easy to get to that point, but once you practice and you learn different rules of photography, you learn how to control every aspect of your camera, it comes a lot easier, and I think that it just kind of comes more naturally to you, and you don't really have to concentrate on it as much. And it's just simple. So don't rush going professional. Just enjoy taking pictures. Right now I'm in the middle of trying to go full pro and still enjoying it. And when you do go full pro, if you ever get to that point in your career, which is amazing, I mean, congratulations if you make it to a full professional photographer, still just sit back and enjoy what you're doing. Because it's, as much as money is nice so you can go buy you some more camera gear, you still need to like what you're doing. You don't just want to be into photography for the money, which I don't think you would be anyways, because there's not necessarily a whole lot of money there unless you make it big time. So hopefully you all make it big time, because I want you all to make the big money. The fourth thing I wish I knew is it's pretty simple. I mean, you're gonna like facepalm when you hear this. Set a designated time to go out and shoot. Set a designated time to go out and photograph. I mean, be planned, be ready. I am not the most time-oriented and planned person, but it's very important when you're doing any kind of photography or running a business, especially if you're going pro, to be very time-oriented and have everything planned out. If you're going to go out on a landscape shoot, you should be prepared at least a day in advance. Know where the sun's going to set, where it's going to rise, know your location, have a vision in your head of the kind of photo you're wanting to get, and that's when you'll get good results. That's when you're going to have a great time and you're going to get great photos, rather than just waking up one morning and saying, oh, I'm going to go here today and I'm going to take some photos. Same goes for wildlife photography. You can't just wake up and go. I've definitely did that. I did that for landscapes and wildlife both. And I mean, you can still get great images, don't get me wrong. I still take really good photos when I do that. But when you plan a photo and you have a vision in your mind, it's gonna become so much better. Photography is an art, and I mean, obviously an artist isn't gonna wake up one morning and paint the best painting the world's ever seen. They're gonna plan it, and they're gonna have a vision in their head, and they're gonna follow that vision and put it on a canvas or on a poster. And that's kind of what you need to do with photography, only you're snapping a trigger and not using a paintbrush. The fifth and final thing that I'm going to be telling you all, without a doubt, is the most important. Know your camera inside and out. Literally. I literally mean know what a single button is, know how each individual lens performs on each camera that you own, know how to switch to the mode real quick, know how to change your settings just like that. I mean, you need to know everything. Know how to switch from manual to auto. That is literally the most important thing ever for photography. I'm not even exaggerating. When you get a new camera, I mean, just practice at home. I mean, you don't even have to be out on a shoot. Just sit in your bedroom and just fiddle with your controls. Say, okay, this controls that, that controls that. Know your camera. I can't stress that enough. You will miss so many shots that happen in the spare of the moment if you don't know exactly how to do it and what button to press and when to do it. And timing is crucial, especially when you're doing wildlife photography or sports photography, anything that involves movement. You have to know where to be, what to do, when to do it. So know your camera. I mean, so it's important to know where your buttons are at, but it's important to know what's inside your camera as well. Know your sensor. That's the most important thing that you're going to want to know inside your camera body. Obviously, you're going to want to know about the battery, how to add a battery grip, what kind of batteries your camera takes, what kind of card slots it's got. But I mean, one of the most important things in my personal opinion is your sensor. There's APS-C, there's medium format, there's full frame. There's a bunch of different sensors that you have to know what they do. Because you can go out and you can buy an APS-C lens and put it on a full frame camera, and that's not going to work. Will it work? Yes, but it's not going to perform as well as it would on the APS-C lens. Where in other regards, you can go buy a full frame lens and put it on an APS-C camera, and you're going to have a 1.5 or 1.6 crop, and it's probably not going to be what you were expecting unless you want the extra zoom. Like, that can come in handy for wildlife photography, but you need to know what you're doing when you do that. You don't want to buy, like I said, you can use a full frame lens on an APS-C camera, but you shouldn't use an APS-C lens on a full frame camera, because that's just going to, you know, kind of be a little bit funky there. So yeah, that's that. You've got to know your camera. You got to know what it does. You got to know what it does and how it performs. Those are my 5 tips on things I wish I knew when I first started photography. Don't make the same mistakes I did. Don't try to rush becoming pro. You know your camera. Don't miss a shot because you don't know where a button's at. You know, don't spend thousands of dollars on gear in your first year. Definitely not guilty of that. Yeah. I appreciate you all watching this video. If it did help you, if this is gonna if you're sitting there thinking I wouldn't make any of those mistakes, you might be surprised. Thanks for watching. Definitely make sure you subscribe, like the video. That helps me out a lot. We're on the road to 1K. If we can hit 500 in a week, I don't know what I'll do. I was gonna offer something, but I ain't got nothing special to offer. You know, I'm not making a lot of money doing this whole photography thing. You know what? I'll say this. I'll make Corona go away. I can't say that. Can I say that legally? No. I shouldn't have said that. Thank you all so much for watching. That's all I have for today's video. Hope you guys have an amazing day.